Hello everybody. As you can tell from the title of this video, we're going to be talking about how we can convert between data types. So let's start with our favorite example. Let's have my list, and this is going to be 3141. And let's say, instead of a list, I want this to be all of the same elements, but tuple data type. So very simple, I can just type the word tuple, and I'll say tuple of my list. And we can see here, I get 3141. It looks like it's a tuple. But one thing to notice here is that this didn't actually change my list. A hint that kind of nothing got changed is we have this output here. So if I really wanted to change my list or kind of store this as a variable, what I would need to do is assign it a variable name. So let's call it x. So I can say x is equal to tuple my list. And notice how nothing got output. And I can check, well, what's the type of x? We can see it's a tuple. That looks good. What is x? It's exactly the same tuple that we got before, just now it's stored to a variable name that we can call. Another thing that we can do is, so let's say I have my string hello world. Let's say I really want this as a list. I could say, well, list of s. And remember what this does is it goes through and every individual character is its own string of length 1. So I have HELLO, space counts as its own character, and then WORLD. Again, if you kind of want a refresher on how these characters work, I could do something like for x in my string s. I could print s, or x, I'm sorry. And we can see here it goes through and prints every length 1 string that makes up the phrase hello world. So I've shown you a bunch of examples that work. What about something that doesn't work? So let's say I have my list, so same as before, and what if I tried saying, I want to turn this into a dictionary? And you can probably already guess, well, how would Python even know what to do with this? What are the keys? What are the values? So here it's saying cannot convert dictionary update sequence element, blah, blah, blah. So don't really worry so much about the exact error message other than kind of, it doesn't really make sense in this case, kind of what would even be the keys, what would be the values. But one thing that does work is the following. So if we kind of are clever about how we write our list and make it easy for MATLAB to recognize what should be the keys, what should be the values, then this type of argument would work. So let's try my list 2. And what I'm going to do is, let's say I have 3, A, then a comma. So it's a list of tuples. Let's say 1, B, 1, C. So this is my list 2. Now, if I call dictionary of my list 2, so what this is going to do is it's going to say, okay, the key 3 corresponds to the value A. So we're going to have 3 : A. The key 1 corresponds to the value B. But then notice what happens here. The key 1 corresponds to the value C. So can you guess what's going to happen? So notice the key 1 updated the value from B to C. And this is just a reminder that we can have only one value corresponding to each key. But here, because we made this list in a way where it was obvious to Python what's the key, what's the value, we were able to convert this list into a dictionary. One other thing I want to show you, so let's remember our Boolean values. So we have true, we have false. Just as in MATLAB, we have integer representations of these Boolean values. So I can say int of true corresponds to 1, so that should be very familiar. And I can say int of false, that corresponds to 0. So hopefully very familiar. And again, having these 1s and 0s corresponding to trues and falses is very useful for when we need to count things. So like let's say we want to count how many times some event happens and it's represented by trues and falses. Well, then we can just imagine it as 0s and 1s and count how many times 1 appears. So sum it up basically. Maybe one last thing is I can even do something like 4 plus true. Do you want to guess what this is going to return? 5. So what's happening here is Python is interpreting this as 4 plus 1, 5. I could do 4 plus false, and that would be 4. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.